Okay. In theory, we're live. Once you can actually see this, hear this, whatever, let me know. I know it always takes a minute for it actually to show up. And to confirm that you can hear us and all those good important things that we like to have happen. Let's give it another moment.
I'm not seeing it start.
Yeah. Oh,
wait, there we go.
One comment. Okay, you can hear it. Yay.
Hi, miss.
Wonderful. We do like to hear that. Okay, so yes, okay, that all looks good. All right, I think we can probably get started, but this is going to be a moderately to highly unhinged world building live stream mini series.
Yeah, I suppose that covers it.
Okay. We are going to mostly off the cuff world build rock people is kind of the idea. Because if you didn't know, we both like rocks.
We do.
Yeah.
It is true. Do I have... I don't have a rock to hand. That's tragic.
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait. I do have a rock to hand.
Oh,
it is some kind of flint.
Love it. I have I don't know if you could see it. I could go get it, but I feel like that'd be too much effort. Way up there on the top of that far bookshelf is like a giant amethyst thing and a giant fool's gold thing. But they're like, I don't think I want to go grab those right now.
That's okay. Rocks do rock. That's true, man.
Yes, and as Bib has pointed out, despite appearing in the thumbnail, there is no Bib in this scene.
I don't quite know why you did that, but I didn't want to, shut down your...
I was talking with Jake and Bib on Monday for the Languages of Pillow World stream, and I was like, yeah, I still need to make that thumbnail and actually set up that stream. And Jake was like, we have the best stream for the Tuesday Let's Have a Boba, which used that picture of Bib, but because Bib was going to be on Let's Have a Booba. And they were like, it would be funny if you used the same thing for your stream. And I was like, okay. It sets us off with shenanigans really well, very early.
Fair enough.
Oh, yes. Okay, so let me... You have some starting things. I have a starting doc, and by that I mean I will have a starting doc once I can set one up. But I think we're going to start with... We have some concept doodles to look at, and then we kind of need to talk about what our general ideas of what we want to do with this is.
Yes.
Do you want to... Should we introduce ourselves first? Like...
I get... Well, it's your channel. I presume people have some sense of who you are.
Maybe. Who knows?
Okay.
I mean, I do recognize everyone in the chat. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. I am Nikolai. I do world building pasta. It sometimes involves rocks. They're a bit of a running theme, in a sense. We could... Rock pasta sounds like a bad idea. I'm not going to pursue that thought, but that's me. Hello.
Okay, let me send this link over to you on Discord for the Google Doc I just created. But yeah, salt is a rock.
That's true. That's an excellent point.
Yes. You all... I mean, I don't know. I think you all know who I am. I'm Madeline James. I like rocks. I don't know. That's kind of all you need to know. What the... Oh, there's a fuzzy. It's not a bug. We're okay. All right. George is asking, magic rock people? Elementals?
Well, that's sort of where I felt like the first thing... We haven't really planned much beforehand because we wanted to sort of do the process on air. Yeah. But I did beforehand try and get a sense of, like, when we say rock people, what does that mean? What do they look like? Are they just magically animate rocks, or are they like just animals that kind of look rock-ish? So I did make some quick concept sketches.
Okay. Should I start by pulling that up?
Yes.
Okay.
How does that work?
So I just add the stage and let me move us over here. Ooh.
All right.
Also, hi, Jake.
Hi, Jake. They could be made of ice. That's not a bad idea. There has been some vague research around that. Anyway, so silicon based doesn't mean rocks. There's a distinction there. So when you said rock people, starting from the upper left, when you said the words rock people to me, this is kind of the image that leapt to mind. It was just a big crystal guy. He just has limbs. He goes to work. He's got a little suitcase, having a good time. And then, there are all sorts of different minerals that could all be their own different people. You could have like a funky bismuth or a rutilated quartz or whatever. I was talking to Mads earlier, just so everyone's clear. Mads is not Madeline. They're two different people. They had the clever idea that we were trying to talk about what would rock people eat, and they had the idea that they would eat different minerals and that would change their color. Because like in real life, a lot of crystals, their color is based on just these like very slight impurities. So that could be interesting. But anyway, that was what leapt into my mind. And then we talked about it a bit, and you kind of talked something a bit more sort of rock troll sort of thing. So that's like the second guy here. It's like a humanoid guy just made of a bunch of clumped together rocks. That's sort of, I think, the second logical interpretation. And then the others are sort of these very quick sketches I did earlier today, where it's like, well, they don't have to be humanoid in any sense. So these are just sort of different shapes of like rock things. And then the last guy in the bottom there, I feel like I've based that on something subconsciously, but I have no idea what. But that's a bit more towards the idea of it's just kind of an animal that just has a rocky texture. So I guess that's what we gotta sort of figure out first. Are they like individual rocks, like maybe a crystal or a gem or something that has appendages, floats around, something? Are they like constructed of mini rocks? Or are there like, meat and organs inside, and they just have a rocky texture around them?
So I think, obviously we know I was leaning initially, my first mental image was kind of that one in the middle at the top, where it's just like a bunch of rocks put together that make a little rock person, and they're, I don't know, something sort of equivalent, not like animated, but like they're just literally rocks that just walk around like people and do stuff. But I do kind of lean pretty heavily towards your first drawing, where it's like a mineral specifically, or like a specific rock type, because then we could play a lot with like, okay, if you look at how the rocks are formed, maybe that impacts something like really deeply, like culturally, about how either these rocks function or how they behave or something. Like if they're a metamorphic rock versus, they come from like, deep trenches in the ocean with volcanic activity, or, like there could be some like more rock-based lore there, which I think would be sensational.
Okay. Yes. I like it. We can work with this. All right. So they're sort of mineral dudes. They might have limbs, as we prefer. We don't really have to have a single body form for them. We can just mess around.
Yeah.
I've realized I haven't given any of these guys faces. I just didn't feel like it, I guess. But okay, so we can work with that, and we can sort of tie the mineralogy into it to an extent. There's ways to play with that. All right. So, I guess, are we just going to say they're just kind of magically animate? We're not worried about trying to figure out the biochemistry in any way here.
Yeah, I feel like the specific biochemistry of how they are up and about is the less interesting part. Like, I think the general biochemistry of rocks in general should have interesting effects, right? Like with how they're formed and what their like composition is maybe, and like just stuff like things about rocks would have an effect here, but I think they'd still be like magical, right? Like they're formed like normal rocks are maybe, and then they become magically animated somehow.
Yes. Okay. So I have a picture forming in my head. So it's a planet, and it can be very volcanically active, of course, and you can have the different types of rock people sort of in different areas, reflecting to more or less, to a greater or lesser extent, their sort of
where they're formed.
Origin.
Yeah.
And maybe they can eat other little rocks somehow, because they got to have a food culture. That's important.
Like either they eat little rocks or they eat like, because they could drink water that has like various minerals in the water, and that's how they consume it. Like there could be something like that without them having to like mouth eat things, I guess. Or we could try to give them mouths.
I mean, I don't know. It's sort of, it can be as conceptual as we want it to be.
Yeah.
I'd made the move to draw this one guy without a face. I kind of leave it up to you to what extent they need to have faces.
Okay. If anyone in the chat has thoughts or opinions to try and sway us towards the faced or faceless rocks, let us know. Because I feel like I'm not entirely sure what we're going to want to do with that until we figure out some of the later things, right? Like George is saying, like, are they going to talk to, like, are they going to talk? Will there be a language? Are they going to just like make little like taps on themselves and like it's basically like a percussive language? Is there like not going to be that kind of language? Or, you know, like I feel like I want to figure out more of that kind of stuff before deciding how much they have face wise. Because they could they could just be like, if you imagine like the way Toph sees with like the earth bending, they could just like see like that and they can sense movements, which gives like rock vibes, and then they wouldn't necessarily need eyes.
Yeah. Communication is a good point. How would they talk? How would they communicate? Tapping on themselves is not a bad idea.
Then we don't need to worry about like the question of internal airways and like, are they breathing? And, you know.
Well, I mean, if they're magical, they can just like make noise if we want to. It's just a question of how much do we feel like justifying ourselves.
That's true. That's true. Good point. Yeah, and they could, if we don't want to give them mouths, they could be porous and just, I mean, all rocks I feel like can absorb stuff to some extent for the most part. And then they could just absorb the like mineral based water. Or like maybe they bathe in mineral water or sleep in it or something, and that's how they eat, is they just like lay in their little like bowl of off dripping waters from the local volcano. And
maybe I'm just like, if they can only like absorb liquids, like how much can you do with their food culture?
That's true. You wouldn't be able to do much, which would be kind of like So I feel like we're leaning towards mouths.
I mean, maybe things can just arrive on their side and then just kind of smooth or phase into them. I don't know.
That's true. They could just, they could, that's true. That would work.
There's when you're constructing a world, you always have the option to just not bring things up.
Yeah. So they could just like absorb smaller rocks for food. That's an option.
When it comes to noises, I do have a sort of image in my head of like the sort of the more like complete sort of whole intact crystals just doing some sort of like ringing or just sort of vibrating or something, and then something else that's maybe just more like crunchier in texture, I guess, making just sort of a grinding noise. That just sort of gives them slightly different vibes.
Yeah, because they could probably make a lot of different types of sounds too if they and they could mean different things. Because you could get the grinding sounds, you could get like a tapping thing, you could get like I don't know. It would depend on which parts of themselves they tap on. I guess you could get different pitches. You could get like scraping sounds.
Yeah. Okay. Rock. Oh, you are writing things down.
Yeah. Let me pull this up for people so they can see our notes too. We should try to get a picture of our little walking crystal dude in there too, though. I feel like that would be delightful.
To be in the proper account.
Yeah, and we could always have them absorb things, and they could also still potentially absorb some minerals in water, like bathhouses. Like that could still be a thing because that would be fun.
That could be fun. That's true.
Extra minerals, like it seemed like a spot.
Okay. So let's think. What are these guys? What are they going to be doing? What do we want to do with this setting?
Like what is our end goal kind of vibe?
Well, I don't know. I guess if there's any like particular themes we want to like explore with how we're setting up their society. I'm just sort of trying to find the direction of what are the important things to sort of define first,
Yeah. I mean, I definitely like the idea of being able to get to the point where we could like draw a little scene where we have our little rock people and they're like in their little community or whatever, if they live in villages or however they live, and like just like have a little depiction where it shows like them eating and them doing this and that, and just like the little bits and pieces we've put together, like having like a little doodle of that, like as something in and around the end goal of this. Do we want to put together like a little mini like tale or story about them? Like, because that could be a goal too.
Could be. I'm not thinking. All right, so they're sort of mineral. We're gonna have like different groups of them representing different minerals. So they're all gonna have kind of their different appearance, the different sort of regional societies. So there's a lot of sort of potential aesthetic variation in that. And I guess it's like, how are these different groups going to interact with each other? Are we going to have like a lot of like wars and conquests or sort of things? Are they just going to sort of more loosely just all be in their own sort of like little villages and societies hanging out? Are they going to have religions?
Oh, okay. Religion. That's good. Yeah. For Jake, let's add a note for material culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we're technologically would we want to go with them?
I feel like there's kind of two directions. I mean, I'm sure there's more, but there's two main directions that come to my mind. Like, there's the one direction where we try to make them as human-like as possible, right? Where they develop some level of some variation of like human-type technology. Or we go the level where it's like maybe they are still fairly advanced, but in different ways, and it's more like just around them being rock people, right? Like if you think of like the culture and society of like, can you say culture? I don't know, but like orca society and the way orcas interact and stuff, like it is very advanced.
I think you could say culture, yeah.
But it's nothing like human culture, right? Like it doesn't necessarily need to be the same. So like I feel like those are our two directions. Do we want them walking around with little like top hats and briefcases, or like doing a rock thing?
I really do like that the image of just the guy with the briefcase, but it's yeah. I don't know. I sort of feel like I'm attracted to the sense of like just seeing scenes of little rock people doing like human things. Like they have temples, they're walking around on the street, they're like tending a farm somehow. What farming means to them is something that would have to be worked out. So like it's like you said, I do want there to be a material culture there,
right?
But I don't necessarily want it to just be like, you know, it's like the medieval France, but with rocks. I feel like they should kind of be their own thing in a sense.
I like that. It's kind of like a middle ground where we start with sort of like maybe like an antiquity level kind of culture parallel, and then just try and like take everything and figure out how we can make it different to work for rocks, but like they're still animated to be sort of human-like, which we could always add some lore of like maybe that was like an intentional thing or something. I don't know. Then we have flexibility to do whatever we want. Because I agree, little rock farms, like I don't know what a rock farm is, but that's precious. I want it.
You could
like
you could do something with like hot springs or like,
or if they're growing like stalactites.
Yeah, something like that. Just sort of like controlling the flow of like hot mineral rich water. You could make something work like that. You could make that aesthetic work. I can see it already. Okay.
Yeah. We could have little like terraced farm things of like hot mineral rich water.
Yeah, because there's a whole thing with like as hot springs rise from a volcano towards the surface, there's like this whole sequence of like they'll sort of form different types of minerals and different types of like, especially like metal ores at different stages in that process based on like the sort of process of like cooling down or mixing with the surrounding rocks. So there's ways you could try and control that process.
I like that a lot.
In lieu of farming.
Yeah. And Crystal Farms is a good one too. I like that. So cute.
We've got to have Crystal Farms. Okay. So there are different types of ones. So when it comes to different types of minerals, it's sort of you have the various types of silicates And then there's other groups of non-silicates, which are generally rarer, but a little more funky and interesting. They each kind of be their own vibe.
Right. We could either, I think, go that direction or go the the different types of metamorphic rocks and sedimentary rocks and have that be the different. Like, I feel like one of those.
Yeah.
The floor.
That work. I definitely want to do something with like all those funky types of like copper sulfides that have like a bunch of different weird colors, like malachite and chalcopyrite. They're all like sort of copper ores. I think of sulfides or carbonates. I'm not sure.
So, okay, question. Do we want our rock people to be different actual rocks? Or do we want them to be like a generic magic rock, but then based off like maybe their main composition that they're based off, like if it's, I don't know, carbonate heavy rocks, whatever, right? That they then consume different things based off that, and that they take on the features, maybe more of those kind of rocks. And it's more like they're the rocks that use this type of thing, but like they themselves, like the base level, are sort of more magical than them being like they are the limestone rock people or they are the amethyst rock people. You know what I mean?
I guess when I made that initial sketch of like the amethyst crystal guy walking around with the suitcase, I was enamored of the idea that you could have different types of rocks and crystals, and they could all be sort of like kind of different shapes, and like I said, they could like make sort of different types of sounds, which influences their language. So that's sort of the direction I was thinking of with that, rather than just there being one type of like rock people. They've all sort of independently been like magically animated. They're all just like different people around. Now I'm trying to think of how like the reproduction and families work, and I have no idea where to go with that.
Well, let's figure out like what they're based off, because if it's based off how they're formed, then that would, I feel like, take that in another direction versus like are they all crystals? Are they all like more, I don't know, like what is our, I feel like we need to figure out our types and kind of what the limit of the types are, you know?
Yeah. Let me try and mood board this out a little. Okay, I guess it's like, what do we ultimately want to envision when we envision little rock people moving around? What sort of different rocks do we want? This is kind of what I was saying before, where it's like the vision I have in my head is you can have like, you know, a society of like the quartz people. They're like these different types of quartz crystals. Some of them are like an amethyst, some of them are like a citrine.
Right.
There's other ones whose names I don't remember. There's like a green one. And they're in their own society. They sort of like make this sort of ringing, singing sounds to each other. They have like Greek temples. Although if their buildings are made of rock, that's a little odd, but whatever.
But maybe it's not made of rock.
I guess. What else would it be made of?
I mean, maybe rock that is physically connected to the earth, hasn't been animated, and has to be chipped off, and giving birth is just like mining off chunks of rock. I don't know.
I guess it's like there could just be rock. The planet is made of something. There has to be ground.
Mm-hmm.
So like not all rock is like meat to them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So like I was saying, you have that. Then you have somewhere else where it's like the different kinds of like, I don't know, the copper sulfides or whatever. Am I thinking of sulfides or carbonates? I can't remember. But it's like you have like malachites and like, what is it, azurite or whatever. They're sort of all different sort of colors. They have this kind of funky, blobby shape to them. And they have a whole different type of architecture, which I haven't thought of yet. Maybe they have sort of a Pueblo thing going on. And then somewhere else you have just sort of these more sort of amorphous rock people. Just some kind of like basalty thing, or maybe like slate, something like that.
Right.
And they're very low to the ground. They just kind of crawl around. They live in this like muddy place. Will there be plants on this world?
I don't think there necessarily needs to be, but there could be, like at least like mosses and lichens and stuff. I feel like would be a good vibe.
It's because I'm trying to sort of picture their like architecture and different types of material cultures, and a lot of that depends on if like wood is a thing that exists here. Right.
Which like we could have it be like semi-earth-like. Otherwise, just to have it be
maybe there are like trees just made of like sandstone.
It's all like, oh, what if it's all like fossilized?
Yeah.
Like there used to be trees, but then they were like not fossilized. I mean, maybe fossilized is what I'm thinking of. Like what you get when like you find the trees underneath of the volcanic eruption ash. That's fossilized, right?
They call it petrified, but it basically means the same thing as fossilized. Okay. For some reason, they just use petrified when they talk about trees.
So it could be just like petrified trees.
It could be, but I guess like if you're going to be building things out of wood, you need to be able to like.
That's true.
Have a lot of wood.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we could go either direction with that. It gives us a lot more options with like material culture to have more things than just rocks, and like visually, I think it would be more varied.
Yeah,
to have different materials.
I guess it's also when we picture sort of the countryside of this planet. Do we want there to be like grass and bushes and things, or should it instead just be like little crystal growths and like stuff like that? Little
when
flowers.
I picture them,
bismuth.
I've been almost entirely picturing them in little like cave systems, like giant cavernous cave systems is sort of what I've been picturing. Like them like having these buildings like up the walls of these caves and like maybe there being like mosses and like little things like that, but otherwise being like, that's what I've been picturing. But I could also just picture them like in a grassy countryside. Like that would also be, it's a lot more trolls, you know?
Yeah, but the cave thing is good because that could be like intrusive versus extrusive rocks.
Ooh.
There could be ones that just sort of form and live underground.
I love that. Live in cavernous systems. For people who don't know, intrusive rocks form like inside the
it's sort of, it's intrusive. It's like you have like magma that rises up to some point in the crust and then just sits there and cools down into rock. And then extrusive is like it comes out onto the surface.
That would be really cool.
So yeah. So I guess the whole thing I'm getting at here is it's like there would be different types of rock people which form in different ways. Some of them could be like based on specific like minerals. Some of them could be based on rock. We don't have to like necessarily choose one or the other.
Yeah.
And they kind of have like different like shapes and like ways of moving around and sort of all their own different aesthetics.
Yeah. And we can have it be like an iceberg thing where like we figure out some, but like you would presume there's an entire like ecosystem of all these different like rock types and stuff. But we're not going to be here for 10 years doing this for everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I like that. I love the intrusive, extrusive thing. I love that. I really do. I really do. And you can have like the same rock. Like there are some rocks that can be intrusive and extrusive, right? So like you could have like the version that lives inside the cave systems versus those that live like on the mountainsides or like, you know.
Sort of like a lot of them, they're sort of like pairs where it's like the same minerals, but just the type of rock they form is a little different based on.
Which could be so cute.
Where they go.
Love it. Okay. So if we have that and we have this connection with like what type of rock they are, then how they're formed. Okay, let's add a biology.
Yeah, but I guess that still leaves the question open of if there is like organic life on this world or if it's all just like weird rock things.
Let's move that up. Let's move that up. And yeah, we need to figure out their like home planet. Home planet. We know we want lots of volcanoes. Said that. Yeah, and then like, because then are there going to be like other animals? Are they going to like have like little ant farms and like?
Yeah, I think there should be like other life of some form on the planet that isn't like sapient, sophont, whatever term you want. But it's just a question of like, again, is it all going to be different types of like rock things, or is there going to be like trees and grass and so on?
I think, and this isn't a strong opinion, so if you have like a different preference, I'm game with that. I think I'm leaning towards there being like Earth-like life, not counting people, but like Earth-like life on the planet. Like there's grass, there's trees, there's like the animals, right? I think that's what I lean towards, and then just the rock people being the cool thing.
Okay, I'll go with it, but I also want there to be rock dogs.
Ooh,
there has to be little rock doggos, and some, I don't know, maybe rock sheep or something. But just like there is like grass and trees and so on.
Grass.
That's fine. And then yes, and then wood is there as a potential building material. So
yeah.
That loops back around to that.
Other stuff. Yeah. We'll have to figure out like what constitutes it being like a pet versus like it could be based off the type of rock, but the idea of having like not like less intelligent, but like based off different rock types or something is kind of funny. I suppose it could be like we could always say the like base elements are like more pets, like they're animated but not as much as like proper like rocks and stuff, right? Like your silver or gold or stuff like that.
Yeah, could be. I don't know if there's a lot of those to play with. They're not always that interesting to look at.
Oh, Logico made a good suggestion though. What if they're able to break off a tiny piece of themselves to become their pet, and then they have this.
No.
It's like they're familiar, but it's like
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so could be a broken off.
I guess to the other questions, we're not necessarily having to focus on igneous rocks. It's just sort of where our thoughts started. But there could be like, because I feel like there's a strong aesthetic to be had in like slate and shale people.
Mm-hmm,
So like we can do all the different rock types, and they're like different appropriate regions. We could even have like undersea rock people.
Ooh.
Like around like those deep undersea vents, those tend to form a lot of these like very metal rich ores.
Yes.
So they can have their own little vibe down there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's an interesting point. It could be a thing where like the people are igneous rocks, and then sedimentary rocks are pets, and metamorphic rocks or something else, like the gods.
Could be. But again, it's like I said, I kind of want to do like, and also if we're doing minerals as well, those don't necessarily fall under the same categories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even though they kind of have some associations, some of them.
Yeah. Yeah, but we could do and it could also just be like however they're formed, there's just a way of forming them where it creates people rocks versus pet rocks. Like it could just be something like basic like that, you know?
Yeah. I like the sort of break off the piece of yourself and have a familiar. I think
so
maybe there is a concept there where it's like there was way back in the day, in like the Middle Ages and something, when people were finding fossils, the way they sometimes interpreted them was that there was just this life force that existed everywhere, and it was trying to like turn things into like higher forms. We don't necessarily have to like worry about the hierarchy there.
Right.
So then their idea was like when they found fossils in the rock, what they were seeing was like the rock trying to become alive and just sort of not quite getting there. So like, I guess my idea is just this is this planet that's just true. And then it's sort of like the people are sort of like the bigger, I guess in a sense, more successful form of that, but like the same process does kind of form like just like littler guys. They're just running around. And so then if you are a person, you can also like break off a bit of yourself and make the same thing.
Right.
So it's just like they could make their pets that way, but then they also just like turn up naturally as well.
Right. Which could be a difference between rock animals and rock pets. Or rock familiars.
Rock familiars. Oh, and then we have rock familiars. Is there gonna be any other magic in this setting other than just the rock people existing?
Nothing has occurred to me, but I'm not against the idea of there being other forms of magic.
Well, I guess if there's just a general animating force bringing the rocks to life, could that be directed somehow? Make the rock around you do your will.
Yeah.
Just
they make their own little like
benders.
Yeah, almost like rock bending, but like different. Like almost like they can turn the rock temporarily into like rock golem type things where it can like roll where they want it or like something like that.
Yeah. We could roll with that.
So maybe they can harness the animation magic that is used to form them. They can semi or temporarily animate rock or other things. Maybe it would be other things, I don't know, to move around / do stuff. Okay.
You know, we could have ice people.
We could have ice people.
Which would be interesting because they could only live in the cold regions.
Uh-huh.
It'd be a sort of odd little... I don't know. There could be something to that down the line.
I feel like there'd have to be like something particularly weird about them.
Yeah.
You know? Like where you're just like, okay.
Yeah. They need to have something special going. Okay. So do we want to keep to the generalities like this, or do we want to sort of start picking out specific rock peoples?
Ooh.
Because okay.
Lava is an interesting concept. Where it kind of looks like lava, where you turn rocks into like a fluid shape, and you do it at once, and then it solidifies when you're done. It's an interesting concept. Okay. So
have a look here.
I'm kind of wondering if it could be helpful to kind of at least at a super high level touch on like the general stuff, because like what is the biology going to be like? What is the, like how are they going to have debibas, right? What's their like that kind of base stuff that would apply for all of them, I think could be worth like at least getting a high level idea and then diving in, and we can fill in the details as we go. Okay.
So reproduction. So we've decided they're just brought into form in some way just from the ground. And I feel like we could roll with that as just something that continues to happen, and there's sort of new ones of them coming to form. But it could also be interesting for them to have a way to like intentionally make a baby rock.
Yeah.
Just so we can have some kind of like family dynamic. I mean, we could also just be like, there is no real family. They're just sort of...
Yeah. If
people turn up and they just form communities together.
Yeah. If we wanted to do a family vibe, a couple ideas I have would be to kind of have a parallel of some of the like general rock formation mechanisms, right? Because if we did something that's like the whole metamorphic bit, like maybe they consume rocks to eat, but they will like soak in like mineral rich water or whatever, and that will slowly like make them like bigger, like give them more rock mass. And then what they can do is either break off a piece of themselves to make their familiar, or they could either through like a metamorphic or probably igneous type process, like I don't know, they could shove part of their rock bodies together until it like metamorphically merges a little bit, and then that piece breaks off, and because it's from two rocks, it creates a rock baby.
Okay. Yes, I was sort of trying to think if there could be some mechanism for them to make more rocks. But yes, the question is, do we want it to be specifically like a two-parent thing?
If we want them to be more people-like, I feel like that would be the vibe. Like, because it could be something more general, like jokingly what Majiko is saying about like you get enough rock people together in a bathhouse, and yeah,
because sort of one way we could play it is, like I said, there are just certain areas which just kind of make rock people, and they make a certain type of rock people, and that kind of influences the way they develop, and that like certain types of rock people would sort of be like tied down to the areas where that happens, and that sort of plays into their whole society and how they interact with each other in a certain way. But if the other thing is if they have some way to make rock people, well, then maybe they could do that in a bit different areas, or maybe it would still be tied down to certain conditions. But I guess it's like how the whole family dynamic works might influence how their societies develop.
Right. Like, I feel like that would have a big impact. Like, it could be, so we have the options where they form in like a specific rate at some rate. There's really no family structure. We have the option where they can make them like a couple. We could have something where it's like they could like a different version of breaking off a piece of them. And then it's like what is that word? Asexual reproduction?
Yeah.
But it could even be something where they're familiars if they like spend enough time and get big enough sitting in the like pools that they become a rock person, and then there's no children. There's just like, that's one direction we could go with it.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, we could kind of like do all of the above, and then different societies kind of have their own preferences of how they like to do things.
That could be interesting. Because they all kind of make sense in a vague, the weird physics, not physics, but like, you know, the world rules we have going, they all could kind of make sense. Oh, that could be cute. Growing them like stalagmites.
Yeah.
Could be a thing. So
yeah, because of things like that. If they're just growing somewhere naturally.
Right.
Then it's like, you know, we have certain societies, they might like try and direct that process to like produce more people. Other societies might like make it more personalized.
I like the idea of that, because it's one sort of way for them to have more rock people, but it also allows them to handle it in a lot of different like sociocultural ways. I kind of like that. I kind of like that they grow them through some fashion of that, that like it could be something where like couples tend their little growing stalagmite, or communities grow these people, or they don't even do it intentionally and it just happens. And like they could do it so many different ways. I feel like that's really cool. I'm into that.
Okay.
So some cultures could pin them together, let it happen naturally.
There's a lot of different ways you can make different rocks and minerals. Like it's a lot of people think of magma, but a lot of it is more like very hot water or other fluids that are loaded with minerals, sort of flowing through channels and then cooling down and depositing them out in different ways. That's how like a lot of like different sort of mineral ores tend to form.
Okay.
I like sedimentary rocks are kind of their own thing. Metamorphic rocks might be funky because like you have to have a source rock and then metamorphize. I don't know what the verb is.
Yeah, like community nurseries.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm wondering. Like some societies would be like, we're all just from the earth together. We're all just guys. We're all just like making more rocks, you know, trying to like have your own specific child. That seems kind of, I don't know, very egotistical and odd. And then other childs are like, no, it has to be personal.
Yeah.
We have to like create them from our own crystal chunk. I don't know what their word for flesh is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't even know what you're typing. You're typing something
else. Stalagmites are all sedimentary, but they wouldn't necessarily need to be actual stalagmites here, you know?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. All right, so, okay, different ways rocks can form. So there's rocks, there's sort of magmatic rocks where they come from magma. You either have like underground, the magma gets into some chamber and then just sort of cools down, or it can reach the surface and explode out as lava, and then that will tend to cool a lot more rapidly, and so you get a different type of extrusive rock that way.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's hydrothermal minerals, where, like I said, it's like some other type of fluid that can be water, but it can also be things like carbon dioxide or hydrogen fluoride, various other things.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's like stuff that's like released from the magma as it's sort of moving around and cooling, and it sort of carries minerals from the magma and like deposits them elsewhere. Sometimes it's just water somewhere underground, and like the minerals that deposit out, sometimes it comes from inside the water itself, or sometimes it's the way it sort of alters the rock around it just from like the heat and pressure. So that's all those. And then you have the stuff that happens on the surface. There's like sediment rocks, where it's just sort of minerals settling out of water. There's evaporites, where it's like as a body of water is like slowly drying out, that'll deposit this sort of very specific sequence of different types of rocks and minerals. And then you have a whole like category of things where like one rock forms and then it's chemically altered in some way, and that doesn't have to be. Metamorphic rocks are a bit like that, but there's like other ways that can happen on the surface. So there's like a whole range of different ways rocks can form that don't necessarily have to involve lava. And so like these different societies that come from these different types of rocks can have their own ways of reproducing themselves. Oh, George, oh yeah, you already responded. We talked about this earlier. There are going to be like trees and grass and insects and bugs and things.
Yeah.
But then there will be rock people.
Yeah.
And some like rock animals as well.
Yeah.
Did we decide if there's going to be like rock plants?
Rock plants. I don't know if rock plants would be easy to fit into this, because like if they can be all types of rocks, basically, I feel like that might get fussy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, because if they're growing, like if they eat rocks, they would have, like, it might not be rock plants, but I feel like they would be growing rocks to some extent. I wonder if it's something intentional where like if they intentionally all like use their like animation magic in like a certain.
We talked earlier about sort of like rock farms. So that sort of implies like something analogous to a crop.
Right.
Resulting.
Yeah. So what if there's a specific thing that they have to do as part of this tending of their rock nurseries where they use the animation magic for those rocks to then become animated? Whereas like if they're just like growing like rock plants or something, it's not gonna make babies. Okay.
Maybe like that. I think I might want there to be like some way for people to just kind of turn up, but it might just be like not very fast or common, and they're just kind of like speeding things along.
Yeah, like maybe there's some like natural flow or like presence of this animation magic that does create some amount, but then they can also like intentionally create the rock babies by using like by harnessing this animation magic. Like it's something like not like a magnetic field or something like that, but like, you know?
I think it's I don't know, what is that name? Kotomir Dragon Sloth. They bring up a good point. Do they need to eat, or is it just do they need to eat like every day, or is it just something they do now and then when they like need more material or something? I feel like if we want to have like sort of in some sense, agricultural societies,
then
I feel like to some extent it has to be like a regular need.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Like maybe they don't have to eat quite as much as like people do, but like they still have some like maybe they have to eat every day, but it's not like multiple times a day, you know.
And that could also vary. Like all of these things could like vary to an extent between different rock peoples.
Okay, vary between people. Are you good if I delete these other potential options for the babies come from? Or do we still want to keep those in play?
I did like the idea of them breaking part of themselves off to make a familiar.
Yeah, that's up higher. That's what I should probably move it down here. But like
and like I said, we want it to vary between societies. So it's sort of maybe the basic methodology is kind of the same, but you know, there's sort of maybe different approaches to it where like some of them are just like we're just making a bunch of people just like basic stock people, where others are like we're like putting some of our own material or like animus into the process to make our specific child.
Yeah, so okay, lots of methodologies. Okay. Let me move the bit.
I like that idea. Some of them get more metamorphic as they get older. I like that. Because there's a whole sequence you could go with that.
They get older. So like age equals pressure.
I don't know.
And I do also like the idea of like they just generally erode. And that's like some part of why they need to eat, and also would be like would involve their like they don't like poop, they erode, you know?
Yeah. That's good.
Versus going to the bathroom. Because I don't think we need rock toilets. That doesn't you know.
And that means we could also have like places where like I don't know, they hibernate through part of the year, but just kind of burying themselves in sand.
Could hibernate by hiding from erosive forces like water, wind, etc. I like that. It like means some interesting things about like, yeah, and there would be natural wear and tear from them moving around that would go in with the erosion and stuff.
If they sort of gain material from eating and they lose it by eroding, we could have like, I don't know, a place where there's sort of like decadent god kings that are just like the size of a room or something because they just keep consuming material and growing.
That could be their like elite class or sort of, you know?
Yeah.
Where they don't have to do anything that would erode them, but they just keep consuming things.
That's sort of, I think I want that to be a sort of a culture specific thing. Like they're like, there's something a bit off with their society.
Erosion and wear, but keep feeding them. So they're huge. Okay, cool. And we kind of what their homes would be made of would be culture specific, probably.
I think where we landed was kind of the same broad range of materials we use.
Yeah.
Like not all rock is like alive. It's special. It's a specific ones.
Yeah.
Although the idea that someone could like embed themselves into a house also has a certain Because now I'm thinking there's like funky things they could do to like end their lives.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Like, if there's some process where they like, like have themselves either like fully like some sort of like chemical leaching or like broken up into tiny pieces, like some sort of extreme erosion. They go climb under glaciers or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Because I think someone brought up the idea that like if they erode down far enough, they could revert to children. And that made me think of like, what if someone is like at a certain age, it's like, I'm gonna, rather than breaking off a little piece to make like one familiar offspring, I'm just gonna break my entire body up into like 5 or 6, and I will like become anew and like
multiple children. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That could be an idea. And someone I think just said this. Who is this? Michelle. They could have a core part of them that is like their sentience, essentially. And like when they like generate babies naturally, or when they like cultivate new babies or whatever, or break off a piece of themselves, it has to have that bit of the core to make them a baby. And then how much extra rock material they've built onto that is like sort of like age, but you could then break it up. You could like erode to the point that like if that core gets eroded away, then you die. Like you could go with something like that.
Maybe. I don't know. I was kind of picturing it as like it's sort of distributed throughout them. And so like if someone breaks them up into many, then it's like sort of a bit of them is in all their children, but they don't have like a single continuing self.
Yeah. That's how I was picturing them too. And I think that would probably make the most sense with like what we've already got. So yeah. Yeah, and that ties in with this, like, or break themselves into lots of tiny new children. And then there could be a difference between these rock people that are like made of other, like whether they have an like ancestral rock parent or whether or not they're like naturally grown. Like there could be like a whole difference of that.
And it's also to be related, because I said before there might be like specific areas where just like it's easier to make more rock people, and so maybe it's like someone moves out of that area that kind of can't make people from scratch like that, so they need to like break themselves up like that a little bit and then grow out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. I like that. Okay. So, okay. Are there any other big things we haven't talked on? We haven't come back to language. Diplomacy, religion, material culture, that would all be like, I think, specific.
Yeah, be specific. I kind of feel like with this world, I wouldn't want to get too caught up in like, big like empires or big like states or sort of like lots of like different like big kingdoms and warring with each other and that sort of thing. I sort of almost want the vibe to be a little more like there might be like more centralized ones which do have like like house-sized god kings or whatever, but there's not necessarily like the whole like land is like broken up into these like different kingdoms. I kind of want it to be like a bit looser, People have their cities and they're sort of organized to some extent, but there's not necessarily like states and like borders and big wars between people.
I would agree with that. I would lean towards keeping it like less centralized. Like there could maybe be like some individual one-off like baby states.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, but like no like giant areas where you have like 18 states all interacting and they're all like, you know. I like the idea of them being less centralized.
Yeah.
Let's do like less centralized.
Business people would be great.
Yeah.
That says it's technically the bismuth crystals you see a lot. I don't think those actually do form naturally, but we can just throw them in. It's fine.
It's fine. We can make it work. Okay, so yeah, that covers that. Religion, like they don't all need to have the same religion. That's fine.
George, what was George saying? When you're talking about the grown from scratch people, what I'm sort of imagining, George, is that there would be certain areas where, just like in real life, certain like settings lend themselves to like creation of certain minerals. There would be like certain areas where that happens, but then if like that sort of group of people moves out to another area to like make more of themselves, like we've established they have some way of like growing themselves from like whatever they eat or material around them. So what I'm thinking is like they would need to have like some seed to like make new people out of, and this would be like a bit of a cultural difference based on that.
Yeah, exactly.
At least people.
Oh, sorry, you go.
I'm just reading George's other comment. At least one of the city-states should be ruled by an absolutely massive boulder that like never split and keeps growing. Yes. That's sort of part of what I was getting to with like the big god kings. And like one of them could just be like, there's just this big sort of mountain at the center of the city, which like speaks pronouncements that like rattle the entire walls of the whole thing.
That would be fun.
And they're just like the people there. It's like, we know at this point it's kind of screwed up, but like we can't really do anything about it. We just kind of have to keep rolling with
it. It's too late. Yeah. Yeah, and I like what Kodomir is saying about how they do seem relatively pacifist and communal, although of course some of them could be different, but yeah, like why would they wage war?
They don't necessarily have to be totally pacifist. There can be conflict. I just don't want it to be like when we're sort of like building out the societies and things. I don't want it to be focused on like this is the kingdom of the Malachites and the ruler rules from like 12 year 12 to that and so on. Like I want it to be more about the people and the culture and sort of it's the way they live.
How do we want to handle, so here's something we should probably address. Given that these are rocks, are they going to have a much longer lifespan and much longer like creation time span for when they're like forming them? Or are we going to like speed it all up as part of the magic?
Conceivably, it could vary. I think the time it takes to form, like a rock-sized crystal is just not something that like forms very often at all. So I think like we do just kind of want to like, we're just sort of leaning on the things a bit to like make that a bit more reasonable.
Yeah.
How long they live? We could take that a few more things, because like we said, there was the idea like if they just like erode over time and they can repair that, then maybe they can just live indefinitely so long as they like keep themselves going. But maybe it could vary. Like maybe the ones that are just like one big crystal are sort of like once they start to like crack and erode down, maybe it's harder for them to replenish themselves. We also mentioned the idea of some of them like metamorphizing over time, and maybe that kind of has an endpoint that they can't really degrade over time.
Like if eventually they metamorphize it, eventually they like fully like just start eroding too quickly or something, and I don't know.
So it's another thing we could vary a lot if we wanted to between different types of rock people. But I feel like there's a lot of directions we could go with it, and I'm not necessarily leaning towards a single one off the bat.
Okay, but we're at least saying there is space for these to be more longer living, more longer formed to some degree in whatever.
Yeah, and like I said, I like the idea of like, you know, the big boulder thing that's just been there for like thousands of years.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like maybe there's like not a specific lifespan for a lot of them, but it's just sort of in practice they generally only tend to last so long.
Ooh, subduction zone graveyard to return to the mother rock. That's pretty cool.
That could be, yeah, for someone who lives in that area. Maybe the underwater ones I mentioned before. Although if they're from vents, some of that might be not near subduction zone or whatever.
Subduction zone. Yes, and someone mentioned something like it's possible. Oh yeah, George. It's you could have igneous rocks be a little bit more warlike because they form more quickly and violently. Is an interesting thought. Caleb's asking, would mosses and lichens be seen as parasites or symbiotes? It's an interesting thought.
That is an interesting thought. It might depend. Because, like, if you're just, like, a big crystal and you have, like, some moss on you, then it's, like, maybe that's not any trouble. But if you're, like, I don't know, a shale or something, and something starts rooting into you, that could be problematic.
Right.
There's also the whole thing, if they age by eroding, that could vary very significantly between different types of rock people.
Ooh. Speed of erosion could impact.
Yeah.
Speed of decline.
A pile of like shale versus like a big old quartz crystal, it's going to be a sort of a different challenges there in terms of how fast they erode.
Yeah, and also just the environments they live in, right? Like if you have them in the rainforest, they're probably going to erode a lot quicker than if they're like, I don't know, hanging out in a non-windy desert or something. I don't know.
That's true.
I guess the sand, if it is windy, the sand like being blown against them could be very eroding.
And there's also different minerals have their own sort of chemical vulnerabilities.
What is eroding them? Their own composition. And what eroding forces they are subjected to where they live. Yeah. Oh, you have an A level in geology? I don't know what an A level is.
It's a British thing. I don't remember what it means either.
Okay. I'm curious. Okay, let me go up to other life forms. So some forms could see mosses, lichens, etc. as problematic. I don't know. Okay. Is that all of the high level stuff?
I'm trying to think. We haven't really talked about religion much, but that could be like very culture specific.
Ooh, an AP class. Okay. Thank you, Bib.
Yeah, that makes sense. The language is something to work a little on.
Yeah, do they have mouths and talk, or is it more of like they make sounds in other means?
I was leaning towards they kind of just make sounds which sort of suit their vibe. I
agree. Hardcore.
Like I say, the big crystals sort of ring, and that makes them sound very like ethereal and posh. And then like the other rocks could just be sort of just like grounding, making grindy,
yeah, like it could be different. Sounds.
I definitely picturing like the big quartz crystals as sort of the vaguely posh ones of this world. And sign language is also some sort of sign or gestural language. It's also definitely a possibility.
Yeah. Okay.
What else? So they have some kind of farming and food stuff. We're starting with a vaguely antiquity, classical era-ish technology, but we can work on that later if we feel like. I think like we said, we wanted some parallels to human aesthetics, but not necessarily just like replicating our particular historical development.
Yeah.
Hierarchy. Do they have gender?
Oh. I mean, I don't think they would need gender based off the way they
This is something a question I've talked to several people a few times. It's like, if you have a society that doesn't have biological sex, can you still have gender? Because it's like a lot of the ways we express gender isn't tied to our biological sex in any way, but then there are also a lot of like kind of very gender-like other things we do in human society that we don't consider gendered, because there's no like nothing tying them back to our sort of established genders. So it's sort of like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Like there could be a gender system that isn't based off any type of like sexual distinction of forms, right? Like it could just be like, oh, there's these two, or we could have a non-binary thing and like be like, okay, there's like 3, or it's a scale, or it's, I don't know, and there's like different social norms associated with these different types, like with how they're here's my proposal for you. It's a horrible proposal, but I'm gonna make it anyway. All right, are you ready for this?
Okay.
We have a system that's almost like astrological signs, right? Like being an Aquarius. And that affects what gender they are and their society.
Okay. No, hold on.
Okay.
It wouldn't necessarily be astrological signs as they exist
Right
on Earth, but something like that, where there is a system that plays kind of the same social role as gender, but there's no like direct analogs to like man and woman. It's just its sort of own.
Yeah, it's its own thing. It means different things. Okay. What if astrological gender question mark because I can't spell. What if it's sort of based off like if we do have the animation magic sort of like existing like a magnetic field, right? There's like, if you look at a calendar, is there differences, or I guess we could make it where there's fluctuations and differences in the way that magnetic field might work, and that could impact. So it's not necessarily astrological gender, although we could do that where it's like the magic is coming from different like space things, and like depending on where they are in orbit, it affects how the magic interplays or something like that, if we want to properly be astrological gender.
I guess if you want to take in that direction, what sort of I was thinking of, like it's something where it's just like kind of totally voluntary. They just kind of have different preferences for how they present and relate to each other, and it's just sort of whatever an individual feels like. But if you wanted to make it astrological, you could.
Right. Or some sort of natural cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it could affect everything from like, it could influence like their shape. It could influence like, I don't know, we'd have to figure out.
We haven't established anything about what the rest of like their planetary system looks like. So we could have options there for cycles.
Maybe they have like 8 moons, and whichever moon is more dominant during that. Like maybe they have 8 months in a year, and alternates which moon it. I don't know.
Could make
and
it
then,
work.
Yeah, something like that.
Could you do something with a Laplace resonance? Okay. Put down. Hold on. Okay. Have you ever heard of a Laplace resonance?
Laplace. It sounds Laplace.
It's something. It's like the three of the big moons of Jupiter do it, and I think there's like some other exoplanets that do something similar, where it's like 3 of them, and they have this like 1 to 2 to 4 ratio in orbital periods, and there's this sort of specific, a couple of different ways that can line up that creates this like sequence of like conjunctions between the different moons.
I can't express
in this very regular
how
order.
Into this I am right now. I'm so into this. So we need just 3 bodies. So like 3 major like what would this be? Small planets or?
I was thinking moons of our main planet.
3 smaller moons. Okay. And then how many? Okay, so
I'd have to sit down and try and chart out how many.
I know, like how many variations we would get. Because like we could go into like this having like a pretty strong, not like strong, but like there would need to be some notable effect on the rocks that are created during these different resonances.
I mean, it's magic. We can just say it does.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, who cares about magnetic fields? It's the moons. Obviously, they do.
I like it. It's 3 moon magic.
We don't know. We haven't been to Jupiter. We don't know what happens there.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, magnetite would be affected by.
Okay, we may need to do some like. Okay, so they have the innermost orbits the fastest, completing 4 full rotations in 7.15 Earth days. Europa completes 2 rotations at the same time. So it's a 7.15 day cycle, it looks like.
It is for those moons, but we can have like whatever we want. It's only the like ratio between the orbits that really matters.
Right. I feel like this needs to be like our week structure or something. You know, like our weeks are based off this.
It could be. I have to figure out.
I need a good graphic of this. Okay.
I think we'd have to sit down at some point and try and like chart out the sequence of the conjunctions.
Okay. If anyone's an astronomer and wants to
I can figure this out for sure. Okay. I just have to sit down with it.
Okay. This is Pasta's homework. Chart our Laplace resonance.
Because I think there's sort of 2 different ways that can line up. I think.
Yeah, because like there's one graph I'm seeing here, which let me.
Yeah, because there's sort of The ones that like the moons of Jupiter have, it's sort of, you never have them all line up at once. It's only ever 2 at a time. But we have seen in like exoplanet systems, there is like an alternate version of this with the same like period ratios, but you can have all 3 line up. So it's like we have options there of which one we want to do.
Yeah. And I guess we could have the effects sort of be based off like, okay, the strongest force is coming from the 3 lined up, or it's from these 2 or these 2 or these 2, or they're all separate. And like that could kind of be the vibe. I'm going to make a note. We might not actually want that, but like, let me just make a note of that. So could be 3 in line, AB in line, BC in line, AC in line, none in line. And if we did it like that, we'd have 5 genders. I'm not sure if that's how it will work, but
yeah, I think the issue with that might be like exactly when do you consider them to be in line, but we could figure it out. Like I say, I'll try and figure out what the sequence would be.
Okay, cool. Cool. All right, so we'll do something like that. And yeah, then we have our 3 moons that would be pretty impactful culturally. I cannot express to you how into this I am. I'm so into it because like moons are rocks.
Moons are rocks. Are you suggesting that the moons are people?
The moons are giant rock gods.
Okay. I mean, they could be. We could just have them believe that. We have options.
That's true. I'm going to put a note in the religion section. 3 moons are rocks. Rock gods? The chat does like the idea of the rock god moons. Yes. Oh, this is just, beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. So I feel like we can't get too far with like gender roles or like what the biological differences might be of the different genders or like what that would look like at all until we figure that out. But we could like start, because we have like 30 minutes left, right? So we could probably start thinking about like one of the side cultures now, unless we have another thing we want to tackle or figure out.
I mean, that's all I can think of at the moment of like the broad things. I guess was thinking of like just trying like maybe put together like a quick list of like our ideas for like what specific like rocks or minerals we would want, and then like what would their vibe be.
Right.
Just a sort of a starting point.
Individual rock peoples. So let's have, will this let me do heading 1? General notes. Let's have that be another heading 1. Theme. Okay. Ooh. That's true. They could be the ones with the, it's so good.
The moon rock gods are the ones providing the animating force. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
And then their whole magical thing could also be linked to the lunar cycle.
I love it. Okay, wait, but also, how is this going to affect the tides?
I have worked this out before. I have the spreadsheet somewhere.
Okay. We'll get those notes.
The answer is it doesn't have to if you don't want it to. Doesn't have to be that complicated. I think usually just like the innermost moon would kind of just have the strongest effect over everything else. But if you tweak the exact size of them just right, then they can have like very funky overlapping
okay. Could it be like
sort of effects?
Could it be like when the moons are lined up more, the tides are a little bit more pronounced? Like, does it work like that?
Hold on. I made a post on my blog a while back where I worked through some like examples of this, which I can send you to have a look at. Here we are.
I feel like this world building project is going to be the best thing either of us ever create in our entire lives.
Okay.
I'm so excited about this right now. Oh.
All right. It's one of my posts, so it's long-winded, of course, but you can have a look at that later.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that at some point. What about a third moon? Okay, yeah. There's the resonance. It's not, oh. Yeah. It would be probably easiest to just literally copy, like maybe change the well, I don't know. We'll figure it out. You'll figure it out and then tell me what the resonance is and then we'll see.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's we don't have to specifically copy like Jupiter's thing. It can kind of be a longer or shorter period or whatever. All that's important is just that specific 1 to 2 to 4 ratio of orbital periods.
Yeah.
It's at least 50 post notes. How many post notes are we up to now?
I don't know. I feel like we sort of just have one big post-it note, which is rocks are cool. But then we have lots of little post-it notes, you know? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So, individual cultures. Okay. So, there's a few ideas I've mentioned before. The big quartz crystals as just the posh ones with the like sort of Greekish style temples and whatever. And of course, there's all sorts of different colors of them. I'd like to have. Am I thinking of shale or slate? Whichever one of them is more layered. I think that's shale.
Yeah. Or like what mica is another one, right?
Yeah, that's a mineral. Just sort of turns up on its own. The shale is a rock, but like we said, they could metamorphosize over time. So they could start as shale and then proceed down. Slate, schist, nice.
Could we have burl too?
Burl? Which one is that?
Isn't that the one that's like emerald is and all of those other ones that are the same type of rock?
Oh, beryl. Yes.
I just can't pronounce things.
I mean, I've only ever seen it written, I think. But
yeah, like emerald, aquamarine.
Beryl.
There's like a red one.
I don't know. How do whoever knows IPA look at the beryl Wikipedia page and tell us?
Oh, that's true. Yeah. What about rubies? Aren't rubies like the same as a bunch of something else?
Corundum.
And sapphires? Corundums.
Corundum. Yeah, ruby and sapphire are both types of corundum.
Errol, not Earl. Barrel. Like a barrel? Like wine barrel? Okay.
And then there's a couple other types of corundum. Well, garnets are nice. I like garnets.
Are they a type of corundum or is that a separate thing?
Garnets are a whole separate. They're sort of they're another family of like mineral that they can have a bunch of like different colors. They're usually sort of slightly purplish red, but they can be like green or more purple or I think yellow.
Yeah. Could we have a community of like various well, I guess they wouldn't all be metamorphic, but like I'm thinking like greenstones, like all the different types of rocks that are in there. Like it would be a bigger category though.
Yes. Well, there's sort of a lot of things that are called greenstones are sort of this family of ultramafic rocks, which are sort of formed on the early Earth, but just kind of don't form very much anymore.
Right. So they'd all be these like super old rocks that like formed a really long time ago, and they're like semi-immortal, like, and they aren't having new babies, and like it could be a vibe.
You could do that. Yes, that could be good. If we're sort of like playing a little fast and loose with the timeline, but that's still like a fun idea that we could do it.
Yeah. We don't have to do all of these, but it's an idea,
There'd be like rock people in the mantle. I don't know. You wanted cave rock people, so that might be some kind of intrusive. That could be like granites. There's like a lot of nice varieties of granite.
That's not how you spell granite.
ITE.
Ah, that's it. I was like staring at it and I'm with an E. There
Yes.
Obsidian people would be cool.
Yes. Obsidian people. Oh. How do I want them to look? Should they be like all like round, or should they be like lots of little shards?
I like the idea of the shards. Like, okay. You weren't in these caves, but I really wanted to lick the walls.
As a geologist, I understand that instinct.
It was they were formed. I don't know if this would make sense for these though, but I'm picturing these walls where like all the underwater like river like eddies had like carved these little scoops out of the rocks everywhere, so it looked like someone had taken ice cream scoops and which kind of reminds me to how like obsidian looks when you like chip off parts of it or whatever. Like what if it looks like that and it's just like a very scalloped 3D surface?
I feel like you could, they could be like quite varied from like person to person of like the exact shape they end up taking.
Yeah. Oh, we have a request for labradorite people.
Oh, yes. Of course, that's from Mads. Labradorite. Labradorite's a type of feldspar? It is a feldspar.
Yeah, plagioclase feldspar. So we could have feldspar people, including
we could.
labradorite.
The thing with feldspars is that most feldspars are kind of a bit boring looking. They're sort of like whitish or grayish, but there's like a lot of like specific, very interesting, funkier looking feldspar. So like you could have like labradorite people in an otherwise kind of more boring looking society of people.
Yeah. What if they had like a super like, I mean, we could have it be like for those ones, I wonder if it could be like the elite classes are the fancy types of feldspars and the commoners are the boring feldspars.
It could be. If we wanted to go hierarchical with it, it could be. Which we can do.
Yeah. Because I feel like some of them should be more hierarchical,
Yes. Yeah. We could do that.
Or hierarchical.
It could be sort of that could be interesting because you have like your sort of ruling set of labradorites or whatever, and then when new ones pop up, it's sort of a bit of a political jostling for power or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Malachite, I would want, and then there's a bunch of other sort of these copper minerals which have like a lot similar copper minerals which all have like very like funky colors to them.
Oh, funky colors. What about the Oh God, what are they called? They're the types of iron deposits that were on the surface and they landed here.
Meteoritic iron.
Yes. What about how would meteoritic rocks work here?
Well, they might be like not a society, but they just kind of turn up every now and then, and they're just sort of like
roaming like bands, like because if it landed once, you could get a few of them, maybe, but like
maybe, and they're just sort of a bit like mystical and mysterious, maybe like rumored to be messengers from the moon gods.
Meteoritic rocks, irons, etc. Sort of small or single roaming bands. I don't know.
Oh, we might want fluorites.
Mysterious.
Yeah, that's sort of what Mad said was kind of what I'm thinking, like sort of nomadic shamans.
I like that. Oh, okay. Malachite really is cool looking. Would that be one of the like various copper minerals?
Yeah, that's one of the coppers. There's malachite, there's azurite, there's chalcopyrite. Ooh, and then just like pyrite itself can do a lot of funky things.
That would be very cool. I do like that.
So there could be like a whole bunch of different ones of them together. I think chalcopyrite does this sort of interesting thing where it starts off kind of gold colored, but then like tarnishes to this very vibrant sort of like blue or red.
Yeah. That would be cool. What about jade?
Could do jade. There's a couple different types of jade.
I really like jade. I feel like that
what did someone mention something that I liked? I forget what it was. Or did I just think of something? I don't know. Don't worry.
Geodes?
Geodes?
Someone brought up how we'd handled geodes earlier.
Yeah, well, geodes, there's a few different types of geodes. Would we want... Okay, so a lot of geodes, there are a lot of different types of quartz geodes. There are also calcite geodes. We want to do anything with like calcite and limestone and sandstone?
They would be actually, I like the idea of that. Because those would like, especially like limestone, like I think these would erode pretty quickly, right? Like
yeah. Limestone's whole thing is that it erodes with rainwater. And that's also if we're growing people from like stalactites and stalagmites, that would be mostly limestone. Probably gonna maybe have to pare down this list a little at some point.
We can just choose our favorite ones to actually do.
Yeah, they can all be around. We'll just like pick some of them. Yeah. What was I thinking of a minute ago? I don't remember. Yeah, whatever. I feel like I had a good one and I've lost it, but that's fine.
Ice, the ice people.
The ice people.
Ice people. Oh, we're not going to capitalize that. Ice people. There we go. Yeah. Also salt. Someone brought
salt. There's a whole different, there's various types of evaporites. There's like regular table salt, there's gypsum and anhydrite, there's the other one I forget.
Yeah.
What are the evaporites?
It could just be a general like evaporites.
Yes, because they form sylvite is the other one. There's like a very particular, they kind of all tend to form together in this sort of particular sequence. Like if you take like seawater and then let it gradually evaporate, there's this specific sequence of minerals you'll get as it like evaporates, and that like changes the concentration of things as different things crystal out. So that could kind of factor into how they, reproduce. And yeah, there's something to do with that.
I do like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I feel like this is a good starting list of ideas.
A little heavy on the minerals rather than rocks, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I feel like we'll maybe do something with basalt at some point.
Okay, something else that could be interesting? I know we already have too many ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But what about like pearls?
Funky. Because they're type of like carbonate as well. They're kind of similar to like limestone, kind of mineralogically, but it's just the way they form is different.
Yeah.
And they're specifically because there's a specific interaction with animals there, which could be funky.
Yeah, like maybe they like ranch the like clams or whatever that produce them or something. And they're underwater.
Yeah. Because we already said we wanted underwater people.
Yeah.
There could be something with pearls.
Pearls?
Sure. And what if the clams here are just gigantic so that they're properly people-sized? Pearls could be fun because you can just have like a spherical pearl with just little limbs dangling out from it.
They'd be very cute. And there's also the pearls that are more like not even spherical too, right? They're the ones that are like.
I mean, yeah, you can have like screwed up pearls. People just like the round ones.
I know, I do. Yeah, it would be a good vibe.
I mean, it's the same material as like nacre, however you pronounce it, the like shells are made of. It's just shaped oddly.
Pearls with no limbs, they just roll around. Well, they wouldn't need limbs if they're underwater, would they? They'd have like.
Well, they have to swim around somehow, I guess.
Like
maybe they're like born with. Maybe they're born without limbs, and then they can kind of just acquire them in some way.
Pearl tentacles.
Maybe they should be jellyfish.
Oh. It would be cool. Little octopus pearls or jellyfish pearls.
Mm-hmm. Just look like Kirby. Nice as a rock. Okay. Am I missing anything? I don't know. I feel like that's good. So all right, we've got a few minutes left. So I'll have to figure out the moon cycle.
Yes.
And then I guess the other thing is we would want to pick out a few of these and try and figure out their vibes.
Yeah. Like which ones we want to start with, maybe.
Are we going to want maps?
Maps. Ooh. Do we want maps?
Because we don't necessarily have to go all the way with like the way we usually do mapping.
Yeah. Something more simple, but something enough to get an idea of like where we could place these. That could be interesting to do. What if we come up with like a large island that would have, our various assorted things, and we don't necessarily need to do a global map, but we could do like an island.
Well, maybe like at least a continent if we want to be like having like ice people and like evaporite people and deserts and that's like true. That sort of thing. But yeah, something like that.
Big island. So one continent. Yeah. Okay. Home planet. So we can build out one continent. Yeah, because we basically want it to like. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god, dead coral people could be the villains. That's terrifying.
Oh, jeez.
Actually, okay. Important. We have 6 minutes left, and I think this is how we should spend it. Do our rock people have predators?
Well, I guess that comes back to the question of like if there are like rock animals and if there are something like rock plants, maybe. Is there an ecosystem there?
Right. Because if they have nothing like keeping them in check, well, and also if they don't have to defend themselves from anything, and they don't have to hunt, right? At least that's what we have. Then like it would lean them towards being less militaristic, I suppose, more naturally.
Yeah. Because like I said, they shouldn't necessarily be too militaristic, but not necessarily pacifist. But I don't think that necessarily has to be justified. But
yeah.
Could they have predators? I mean, we kind of had this idea earlier that like, you know, the small ones are animals and then the bigger ones are people. But I guess the question is it going to be strictly size-based? Or could you have a large non-sapient rock?
So with how we have it now, where it's either like there's the natural animation using that magic / they can cultivate it specifically to have that magic create new ones. I would think it could be a lot easier with like lesser degrees of the magic to just make the pets, and the size doesn't need to be a factor.
So there could be large rock animal things, some of which could be dangerous.
Yeah. So, okay, the first thing that pops into my head is like, this really doesn't help us in any fashion. But I'm like, giant predatory glaciers.
I mean, maybe it's like an ambush predator.
Yeah.
Because they're not really gonna
get you very fast.
Not really gonna be moving it too much.
But like if you think of like the moraine fields and stuff, like you know, could be something. I don't know. But I think the idea of them, they're just being like rock animals is also a vibe. I feel like we'd need to come up with like not a body plan, but like a limb plan or a couple limb plans for like so they don't just also look like our rock people, you know? Like I feel like they'd need to have a different vibe.
A bit. We could something like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be consistent. I don't know. Maybe they just have a lot of limbs, the animals. Yeah, something to distinguish them. Because I do kind of want variety in the sort of body layout of a rock people, but you're right that it could be useful to have something to kind of mark them out.
Do we want to make them be like the bipedal thing and that people like this is making me think of Bib's talk, but like we do want them people like so
yeah, well, I want at least some of them to be bipeds, but I feel like, you know, some of them could be like tottering around on 3 legs or something, but maybe like just having something like hands could maybe
that aren't like walking limbs.
Distinguishing.
Like distinct hand limbs. So you wouldn't see like monkey style like rock animals necessarily because those would kind of fit in that category.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's if we just went to like something like to sort of clearly draw a line, like there's no particular reason we'd need like monkey rocks as such. So
right. Okay, so the animals don't have distinct arm-like limbs.
We have some kind of grasping thing, maybe, but they can't do hand things.
Yeah. And they're not like exclusively arm limbs. You know what I mean? They could have something that could function like an arm to some degree, but like it's also like they walk on it and do other stuff, and it's like,
like, was it Z Squeer makes a good point. There could be like rock lobsters. They have like claws, but they're not like hands.
Right. Yeah. Opposable thumbs. Oh, okay. I like that. I think that helps. And that gives us a little bit of an idea of like, okay, when we think about their societies, they might need to have walls and defenses against animals, or like they could potentially hunt these animals for rock sustenance if they wanted. Like that could be a vibe.
That's sort of what I'm imagining is like there is like an organic biosphere, but there's also just like rock stuff.
Could hunt the rock animals or num. Yeah. I like it. Okay. I feel like we've got a lot of really good like I feel like our basics are kind of mostly locked in. This is brilliant.
Okay.
So where do we want to start next time? Like we'll have to cover the gendered thing, the astrological gender.
We'll have to figure out the moons. I guess I sort of feel like I want to sort of kind of maybe mood board a few of these specific rock people societies.
Yeah.
Just get their sense. We could work out a map at some point. There could be rock vegans. That's possible.
Do we want to mood board rock peoples first or do the map first?
I think mood board them first. So we have an idea of like who we would have, and then we can like decide where we would want them to be. Okay.
So I'm going to, I think, and we can change this, but I think I'll schedule next week's stream as our like astra whatever genders and mood boarding, and then the next one I'll like title like map or something.
Yeah, we'll see where we get next.
Next week. And then I'll just need that picture of the cool rock thing, and I'll use it in the thumbnail. Or we can, I'll doodle some more too of some of these. We can like make some doodles and stuff, and it'll be cute. I'm happy.
All right.
Okay.
I'm happy too.
We're all happy. We hope all of you watching are also very happy. Oh wait, hold on. That's a good point. Let me write that down. We need to discuss cannibalism of same rock type. Okay. Cool. And on that note, we're good. We'll be back next week.
All right. Next
Bye,
week.
everybody.
Bye.